So my name is Alex Wenz. I'm a veteran tech recruiter. Almost all the recruiting I've ever done has been focused on the San Diego market. I've been doing this since '96. Sort of painful when I say that out loud. I've performed as an agency recruiter, an account manager. I've been a corporate contract recruiter, and I've had my own tech search practice since 2004. Anyway, for additional context and transparency, I'm also a recruiting industry advisor to Developer DB. Don?
Thanks, Alex. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Don Fan, founder of DeveloperDB. DeveloperDB is the tech recruiting database. We have over 12 million personal emails of developers, many not found anywhere else. We have a search platform and a Chrome extension, and we spend a ridiculous amount of time on GitHub. So I want to pass some of our insights on to you today. I am located in the San Jose, California area. Back to you, Alex.
Okay, so here's what you'll learn today. 3 simple things. Why you should absolutely use GitHub. Many people do webinars and then they go back to their routine and never implement. So we're going to tell you why you should be on there. We're going to show you just some basic core searches to get you comfortable with GitHub's UI. And finally, what do you do with the results? Next slide, please. So with research to date, we've found that the bulk of tech recruiters nationally don't use the benefits or leverage off the benefits of recruiting on GitHub. This put Don and I on a crusade to encourage all the recruiters out there to branch out a bit beyond common platforms like LinkedIn, Dice, Indeed, etc. At first glance, we know GitHub is not exactly intuitive. It's not all that easy to use, especially from a recruiter standpoint, because it was not developed for recruiters. It was built for developers so that they could host, share, collaborate their programming projects. Our goal is to demystify GitHub and get you jump started with some basics. Like I said, it's not a comfort food like LinkedIn's UI UX, but it's not that complicated once you play around with it. So once again, the goal today is to just get you to try it, or if you've used it already, explore it a bit more. Also, think about it this way. There are so many recruiters not using it. It truly gives you an edge and it differentiates you when you're head to head with other recruiters. Okay, next slide, please. So why recruit on GitHub? Well, first of all, it's free. That's always a nice attribute. And like the slide says, it's easy to join, and joining is key. We're talking a email and a password. That's it. You don't even have to set up a profile. I never have, and I've never gotten kicked off for it. So in the upcoming live demo, I'll show you why it's the difference between trying to search GitHub externally without logging in and then after you log in. So think about it. Also, GitHub is a very unfished pond. This is your golden opportunity to get involved and explore it. You never know when access is going to change. For example, I don't know if it was after Microsoft took over GitHub, but you can't even use the direct messaging feature anymore. That used to be a great way to get a hold of people. Now you no longer have that option. So how about you, Don? What do you got to say?
Great. Okay, so at 36 million users and growing, GitHub is by far the largest site in the world for developers. For reference, Stack Overflow, which is also a great site to use for technical sourcing, is second at 9 million. And there are other smaller sites similar to GitHub, such as Bitbucket and GitLab, but they are much too small for us to recommend for everyday technical recruiting. And then lastly, 3 in 10 developers are not on LinkedIn. That's a staggering number. Okay, from the Stack Overflow developer survey, more than 22% don't have LinkedIn. And then from our own internal research shows that an additional 7% have abandoned LinkedIn. So overall, 3 in 10 developers are not LinkedIn. For the USA, that's almost 945,000 IT workers in the US that are not on LinkedIn. Okay, with that, let's go to the highlight of today's webinar, which is the search. And back to you, Alex.
Thanks, Don. So as recruiters, I would imagine most of us do geographical based searches. So one of the key queries you see at the top of the slide is location. And I don't know how well you can see it, but familiarize yourself with the syntax. It's really location, colon, and then the name of the city. If there's any white space, San Francisco, San Diego, you need to put it in quotes. GitHub is very it's very quirky if you don't put in exactly the right thing. Next would be language. We all deal with the tech stack since we're tech recruiters. So that's another command I'd like to show you. And then followers is a very important part of GitHub. It really gives you a feel. Look, the better you are at something, you're going to have more and more followers. And to give you an idea, anybody with up to 10 followers is good. 11 to 25 is great. Over 75 is exceptional, like rock stars. So just keep that in mind as you are using that followers value to increase your result set or lower it. So for example, there could be common languages that you would put that number of followers up. And then if you use something very rare like ActionScript, you bring that number way down because you have a lot less followers. So let's put some of these search features into action. If I can get this share function working, I'm going to slide over to my browser and show you GitHub. Okay, Don, can you see my GitHub screen?
You are rock and rolling there,
All
Maestro.
right. Okay, so this is the first point I was trying to make is when you are not signed in to GitHub, yeah, you can do searches and all sorts of stuff. But as you can see, I have done in the search box there in the top right, I've put in location Chicago. Remember, no spaces. But what do you notice? You may see some pictures, some usernames, location. But when I sign in, and this is a huge gift right here, and a lot of people don't know about this. When I sign in, that result's going to change. And anybody that has chosen to disclose their emails, voila, there's a gift. If I scroll down, look how many people are providing their emails. Now, most of these emails are valid. They may be emails that the developer uses on a regular basis. It's a starting point. So that is a freebie right there. Next would be the screen layout. I would like to show you that on the left, you have languages because of that result set of 24,701 users in Chicago, I can go down and go, oh, how many of them do JavaScript? Well, 3,496, as you can see, that was the number. If I do Python, it's 2,300. You go to the top. So you can bounce around. So if you're just doing a search on a city, you can break people down by language. Now, when you change that, it does not change the text in the search box in the top left corner of the screen. So if I want to specifically look for those in Chicago, language of Python, what do you know? I'm going to get, of course, 2,300 users. But now I have my syntax in the top left, which what I'm going to want to use to continually refine. And the key here is to adding followers, which I can't do below. Let's say from 10, 2 periods is a range to 20 followers. And what's my results are going to be? 237. For many of us, that's too many or it's not enough. The point is that as I change that value, I can say, okay, how about all those from 15 to 20? Okay, now I have 91, or I could just use the greater than or less than symbols. How about less than 15? Okay, so it gives you an idea how you can play around with that. I call it a lever. And the other thing you may want to do, this is just sort of a tip, is that anywhere in the syntax, you want to put type, the type of profile. There are organizational profiles and there's user profiles. So I always force it to go user, so I'm not looking at companies. So I'm going to put that in. It should be 257, as you can see on the screen, but it may be a little less. Let's see. Okay, so these are all users. There were no organizations. Now, the key to this screen also is in the top right, automatically sort by best match, but you can also look at most followers, and it will reset. You can look by most recently joined, which means a lot of times you want to engage people who haven't been on there for years and they got a ton of people that have already contacted them. It's just a way of building that pipeline for the future. Just be aware that that's another sorting mechanism. I'm going to switch it back to best match. And then finally, once again, this is your interface for the result set. And there is an advanced option here in the bottom left. I don't want to cover that today because it just opens up a can of worms, but know that it's there. Let's go to David Beasley. You generally get a picture or an avatar. On the left side is like the basic profile information. He's an author of a Python Essential reference. So you get a little feel for, maybe they say they like skateboarding, something so that can help you personalize any message you send to them. You can see once again where he works, the city, his email, and maybe in this case, it looks like his own personal website. The point is you never know what you're going to get on that left side, but you always want to look there first. And then GitHub is its own ecosystem. There are, as you can see in the top middle, repositories. That's where all the action happens with their projects. They're called repos. There's terms like contribution, forks, pulls, commits, stars. Of course, you know, followers. We don't really want to get into the weeds because at this point, it's not as important. The main thing is to learn some basic searches, familiarize yourself with the profile, and start using it today. Now, as you can see, as I scroll down, you can see the projects. In the future, you'll want to use some of this contributions information, activity. There's all sorts of data points here that are going to help you when you've decided, hey, I want to reach David. Let's go look at his background a little bit more so I can send an intelligent, personalized message. Also, one final thing is I'm going to go back to the result set and just know that when you have a lot, at least more than one query, if you put some sort of mistake, like there is no such thing called Pythons, for example, I think it's not going to give us an error. It could, but if you notice, it gave us a result set. That doesn't make sense. And if you notice, it says 1,530 users. If I go back and fix that typo, there you see it's different. So anyway, hopefully this has given you a broad 30,000 mile view of the profile. And I'm going to move back over to you, Don, okay?
Thanks, Alex. Wow, GitHub is pretty cool. Are you ready to crush it yet? Before you do so, let's consider a few things about GitHub, including some potential speed bumps. Like most sites, GitHub has some challenges, and Alex will cover some of the challenges that we will see.
So, simply put, GitHub is not designed for recruiters, as I mentioned earlier, but the Git in GitHub is key. That's a version control system. It's very popular. As a matter of fact, every project on GitHub is using Git. And so that explains why all the nerds and geeks hang out here. And it's a wonderful thing. The hub portion is just that. It's a place where they host projects, share code, and collaborate. That's why you want to be there. There is no project feature in GitHub. So as you find, when I say project, I mean, as recruiters, we generally like to save our results to a project, you know, some sort of search. They don't have that. That might possibly be on our product roadmap because it's very frustrating that they don't have this feature. Also, it's not a resume. There's no work history. Of course, you want to triangulate and see if there's other social footprint, but it's ultimately not a resume. And we're all very used to going, where did they work? So that's kind of a challenge as well. Don?
Great. So with GitHub, like most sites with profiles, GitHub does have its share of outdated profiles. Some GitHub users are regulars and come back frequently to update their profiles, while others haven't been back in years. While all these are potential roadblocks to a successful GitHub sourcing probably the most important consideration is the lack of information on profiles. Earlier, when Alex showed the live search, most profiles looked complete. There were emails, everybody had a location. Well, that's because number one, we were searching by location, and number two, GitHub tend to show the more popular and complete profiles first, so that if they don't have a location, it wouldn't be there to begin with. So here you actually see the real result. So in 90% of the cases, there are no location on the profile. So you only get 1 out of 10 users will have a location. So that search of Chicago earlier only shows those that have indicated they live in Chicago. So the rest of the folks who live in Chicago are not showing up. The same with some other information. Earlier, we saw a lot of emails, but in reality, only 6% of users or members have listed an email. Don't be discouraged. GitHub, again, is extremely large at 36 million users. So 1/10 of that will still get you a lot of users with locations or users with email. So as a free tool, it's fantastic. Okay. But if you want to see more users with locations and more users, more importantly, with personal emails, we have a tool that will enable you to source whether users have emails, location, social media, or not. There are many tools out there to help you find emails, of course. We spent more time on GitHub than anybody else. And so we think we have emails that you cannot find anywhere else. So with that, let me kind of toggle and go to a live demo. In the meantime, Alex can say something witty or at least mute himself because I hear some background noise.
I think I'll mute myself.
Fantastic, Alex. Okay. So good impromptu right there. So anyway, so here we are playing around. We're back on to GitHub. I made a little rookie mistake by not putting quotation in San Jose. So let me toggle over to one that does have quotation around San Jose. So I get the 100 users. Similar to Alex earlier, I did Python, but I did followers greater than 15 to give me a good 100 number. Of course, those are in the barrier would realize that there are more than 100 Python developers in the San Jose area, and probably more than 100 with a strong following. But let's scroll down here a little bit. Pick a few profiles. Again, I have logged in already, so you can see Mahmoud has an email. So let's go pick on George, who doesn't have an email. So here we're in George. There's some information such as his LinkedIn, but no email. We are going to use the Developer DB Chrome extension that you can get on the Chrome store. We're going to click on it. And here, George's email comes out. And you can see his email, George Sung at Gmail, and some other information about him, including the expertise ranking. This is something that's very unique to Developer DB. We have gone into GitHub and Stack Overflow and analyzed every single active user for different skill set and have ranked them. This is a percentile, so 100% is really good, or the best, and then 0 is the worst. So in this case, George has 98.8%, which is phenomenal. There's also some social media URLs. So as Alex mentioned earlier, GitHub is a little bit sparse on work history or anything else. So here you can click on it. You can get to George's LinkedIn profile if that is important, and get a little bit more information about George. Okay, so let's go pick on another person, Miguel. Same thing. Miguel doesn't have an email, but when you click on it, here we are. We exposed Miguel's email. There's 2 of them. his personal Gmail, which is great, and his work email, which is good for now, but obviously the Gmail is better. And here we get some social media URLs and some of Miguel's ranking. Now this is great for those that have raised their hand and indicated that they live in San Jose, or at least give a location. Okay, but as mentioned earlier, there's 90% of the members who are not who have not indicated a location. So what do you do with those? So with that, we have a secondary product, which is our search platform. And here, whether they have listed a location, an email, or something, it doesn't matter, because we have received the information from other sources such as LinkedIn, Meetup, Twitter, Stack Overflow, Facebook, and we have compiled into one source already. So here, let's go ahead. Let's put Python. Location, let's do San Jose, California. And here I'll click on the tech ranking, which means we'll show those with the highest ranking in the San Jose area for Python. So great. So there we go. San Jose. If we viewed on already, or just have a view comments, let's go pick on somebody who hasn't viewed, John. Okay. So John scored fairly high on Python as well. It's a little bit hard to see here, so let me kind of blow this up a little bit. Hopefully you can see a little bit better now. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so here he scored 97.6% for Stack Overflow. Very respectable, very high number. Again, 100 percentile is best. So 90, he's pretty much in the top 2% in Stack Overflow. And here's GitHub, or GH here, and he's definitely within the top 2% of all GitHub. Now, keep in mind, the ranking is a one-way street. If they are ranked really high, that means that they are a very proficient developer at that skill set. If they're not ranked high, it doesn't mean that they're a bad developer. It just means that they have not done any publicly available commits or any information for us to rank them. So because of what reason or other things, they maybe have a low ranking, doesn't mean they're bad. If they have a high ranking, definitely means that they're good. So fantastic. This gives you a little bit snapshot of our platform. There's a lot more functionality that I don't have time for today. We have, again, it's a much more complicated search, but the Chrome extension is great when you're on LinkedIn or GitHub and you look in profile and you just want to get a little bit additional information, work history, or email. The search platform is good for when you're looking for a little bit more. Now with that, I'd like to get back to the presentation with Alex and wrap up the rest of the webinar. So let's go back to the next slide. And Alex, back to you. Ready to rock and roll, buddy. Bueller? Bueller? Bueller?
Hey, I'm here now. Sorry. Yeah, technical difficulties. So anyway, I'd like to just cover three things. You know, what to do with the results, sort of the ABCs. Well, a lot of this is fairly intuitive, but really, at the end of the day, hopefully you're uncovering new talent, and you obviously want to add them to your CRM or ATS. You may find some tools out there. Things change all the time. It's a little bit cumbersome, but obviously your goal is to get them into your CRM or your ATS. Number two is you can always bookmark a result set and go through it later. That's always kind of nice. You can use a follow feature, which I didn't show you during the live presentation, but that's sort of a way, like if you find 3 or 4 or 10 people you like, just follow them. And then when you go to your own profile, you can click on, because you have your own profile just like everybody else, you click on that following tab and you'll see all the people that you've been following. Just remember, when you follow somebody, that increments their followers by one. So, you could stay connected. It may show some interest. They may find that flattering. On the other hand, feel free to unfollow them at any time. So also, it's all about gathering personal information if possible. And sometimes it's just a project they're working on. Sometimes it's something they put in their profile. It can be anything. We all know you need to personalize your messages. Yeah, you can cut and paste, but always look for something that's going to separate you. Now, recruiting on GitHub today is a great time. You have a little less competition, but just imagine now that Microsoft owns this and they'll continue to grow it, you'll get more and more developers. It will attract recruiters. There's no doubt about it. So work on always looking at the profile and figuring out which nooks and crannies you can get something to help you personalize a message. Okay, back to you, Don.
Okay, some other great resources. As Alex has mentioned today, this was an introductory webinar to GitHub recruiting. We are planning to have the advanced GitHub recruiting later in June. Also, as promised, for those who sign up for the webinar today, we will be sending out the recruiting on GitHub ebook. When we finish that within the first week of June, we will also incorporate some of the Q&A and some feedback from today's webinar and incorporate that into the ebook. The help at github.com link is a great place to visit. And lastly, but not least, Developer DB. Alex and I are always blogging about interesting subjects, including GitHub, as well as Stack Overflow and other sites that recruiters should be. With that, let's go over to the Q&A, and we see that we have a number of interesting questions. So let's pick a few of them, and we'll go from there.